with the people. I always say to people, even if you're in Israel, let's say we talk about the West Bank and the settlers, go to the West Bank, see things in your own eyes. Don't listen only to what you see on the news or through other people. So I think missions is one of the things that I wish will happen more and more from Long Island. I know that people are afraid, but again, I think there's much more behind going there and meet Israelis, even if it's for 3 or 4 days. So David will elaborate about his mission and what he experienced when he was there. And finally, about things that happen here on the island that you can learn and be aware of that the entire Jewish organizations are doing for Israel and for the Jewish community. And as always, before we give the torch to David, we'll go over some updates. And as you know, it was a very, very busy week in Israel. And scary in a lot of ways for Israelis. Well, I'm not so sure how it's going to look ahead. So we're gonna go over about the updates, and I will try to share some videos with you, but I'm not sure that you've seen them on the media here in the United States. So we're on April 18th. Unbelievable, but the 195 days of this war, 195 days that we have 133 hostages being held in Gaza, yet still tens of thousands of Israelis being displaced from their homes. We have a total dead this week of 1,495 Israelis. The last one of them is Binyamin Achimeir, a 14-year-old teenager from the West Bank, living a distant settlement, went with the herd to the fields and was murdered by Palestinians. It's terrible, basically, and it made things escalate very fast at the West Bank. And I'm sure that here you saw only the videos of the settlers making riots against the Palestinians, which again, those people does not represent us, and I was not proud of it, and I think it's something that shouldn't have happened. But again, please remember, it started because someone murdered a 14-year-old teenager on the fields. And second thing, it came up in one of the discussions I made this week, those people does not represent the 500,000 settlers living in the West Bank. We're talking about a minority becoming big, several hundreds, but still a minority nonetheless, and it does not represent the settlers. So please, when you see those movies, refer them as settlers. This is not who they are. Just like we Israelis know how to distinguish between the Islamic Republic and Iran, which is not the same thing, the government and the people, or Hezbollah and the Lebanese people, please try to do the same thing for Israelis. I think it's the right thing to do. So Binyamin was the last one and was murdered this week. Go about the fronts. We'll start obviously with Iran. I'm sure that you all saw probably the most recorded attack on history on Israel. That was the last Saturday, and you saw all the images. I will just add 2 things. First of all, the Israelis were terrified. We didn't know where it's going to go. People called and literally said goodbye because, again, it could escalate very rapidly. Just think that some of those missiles, if you Google it, you will see how big they were, hit places where people live and lead to 100 dead or more. Think where we are now. The fact that we have an amazing Air Force and the coalition led by the United States and France and UK and the Kingdom of Jordan help us to be in a situation that we can think how we're gonna react. But it was very scary, those few hours, and I feel, again, privileged to be part of a country who worked very hard, to defend itself. Have no mistake, Israel will retaliate. We have to. It's not that we all want peace, but I think we saw what managing the conflict, like we tried to do until October 7th, led us to. And this equation of who is fearing more from whom, Israel cannot be on the side that will fear from doing the next step. And the test will be the next time when an Iranian general will go to the Middle East. Will Israel feel free to attack and eliminate him, or we will be afraid of what Iran will do. And then this is when we'll know who's more afraid of who. And if this equation will be against Israel, so we'll be in a very bad place, because as you all know, Iran is the head of the snakes and lead all the proxies that attack Israel from all over. Again, I'm not sure how it's going to end up, but it didn't look good, and I'm glad it ended the way it did, like I'm sure all of us. Going to Gaza, as you know, the fighting in Gaza became very, very weak, I would say. Not even close to what we experienced the past 5 months. But there was 2 videos from Gaza that showed the weird balance that was created between the fact that we have hostages and the people of Gaza trying to go back to normal life. I will try to share my screen so you will see 2 videos that I want to show you. Hopefully you see this video. This is a video of Yarden Bibas. The day he got abducted. You see all those people around him. He sits on his motorcycle. See all those people and how terrified he is. Right? And this is how Gaza looks like today. You see the market's full with people. If you look at pictures, the beach is full with Palestinians. And again, just to make it clear, I have no problem with people who are not part of this war. Go to the markets, have food and a lot of supply that are coming, talking about now more than 300 trucks a day. The dock that America is building is going to be completed the next few days, a week or so, or with people going to the beach. It's just the frustration of Israelis that they are there when underneath them there is 133 hostages being held, and it feels that it's not fair, and it's more than that, feel that Israel is losing its leverage on Hamas. When the supply is coming, when people are able to go back to most parts of Gaza and try to go back to routine, we're not going back to our routine. We still have hostages being held, and we're still there. And Israelis are not moving forward until they will be back home, and I'm sure you are with us in that. And it is what it is, but it's just very frustrating. And the fact that those 2 movies were unleashed only this week were just devastating. See Yarden is the husband of Shiri and the father of Ariel and Kfir. Nobody knows what happened to them, but we know that they are still there. It was being published only this night that President Biden approved ground attack on Rafah, the southern city in Gaza. I'm assuming it to show Israel, don't attack Iran, but you can do Rafah, like this weird balance. Even Israel and the IDF is already, the plan is already been done. They will evacuate people first. It will take several weeks probably, and only then will attack Rafah for an operation that's supposed to take 2 to 3 weeks. So this is on the table, and again, we're talking about leverage on Hamas. Maybe it's the last thing we can do, because as you know, there was a deal on the table this week led by the United States about releasing 40 hostages. And Hamas said the first thing he said that we don't know where we have 40 live hostages. And the second were, we're only willing to release 20. Meaning they're not in a rush to have any sort of a deal. And when they see the entire world, not with Israel, let's say, or going on their side, we need some leverage against them. So it's on the table. Maybe after Passover, we'll know more. Going to Lebanon, very disturbing thing happened yesterday in the Lebanese border. We know that the drones is a big threat on Israelis. And yesterday were probably the best example of it. The Hezbollah launched 2-phase attack. The first, they shot an anti-tank missile. The missiles today, the newest generation has cameras on the head of them, on the battle head, and they show a movie. If you will look it up, again, I'm sure New York Times you won't see it, but maybe other places. You'll see the video that it's targeting directly an Arab village where there is a base of soldiers, targeting this base, and there's a drones of Hezbollah above it, and once the rescue forces are coming, then the drones hitting them. And the end of it is that we have 6 severely wounded soldiers in the northern border, and just to show us that Hezbollah controlling in another way the northern border of Israel and can attack with drones every place. Now they have very direct missiles and drones, and Israel cannot cover every little part of it. And when we talk about my family, going back to Kiryat Shmona or my friends, how would they know the day after that there isn't a drone seeing them now and just going to launch on their homes? Again, very disturbing. It's a reality that I'm not sure how to get used to or what to do with. But again, I just want you to be aware that things are escalating all over. And you look at Israelis in the past week, the attack from Iran, the attack from Hezbollah, the picture from Gaza yesterday, very disturbing. Although the IDF has, again, the IDF do what it's supposed to do. Stop Iran, killing 2 very high-rank Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon. Like Nasrallah and Hezbollah paying a very heavy price. I'm not sure it's up to them where this war is going to go. West Bank, we talked before. The murder of Benjamin Achimeir got things very escalated very rapidly. But I'm not sure where it's going to go yet. And we'll have to be patient and see. But let's hope it's going to calm down with that. Now I'm going to pass the torch to David. David, again, thank you for being with us this morning. Thanks. Go ahead. You're on mute.
Dagan, thank you. Thank you very much. I don't think that you realize just how much the information you provide is essential to those of us that need to understand the facts behind what it is that we're not getting into in the news today, either on TV or on papers. So having this kind of podcast, having this kind of information is absolutely essential to anybody that is truly interested in understanding what's going on and how to respond to it. I thank you very much for inviting me. You've asked me to sort of lay out what the philosophy was behind the creation of the Center for Israel 10 years ago, what the mission was that we took to Israel in November, and then what's going on the island and how can people continue to support Israel in the face and in the light of what's going on every day today. The basic philosophy behind the Center for Israel was very simple. It is essentially that we as American Jews are more secure knowing that Israel is there, and Israel is more secure knowing that the American Jewish community is behind them. Therefore, we wanted to create a center that enables American Jews and non-Jews to have direct contact with Israelis and to understand what contemporary life in Israel is like, what the issues are, to be able to educate past the misinformation or disinformation. And so 10 years ago, we began with the creation of one Shalich, one emissary who came to us. And from that, we are now a network of, I think, 8 different, we have you as our leader in the Center for Israel. We have a junior Shaliach, and we have 6 Shinshinim. Shinshin, as an individual who's graduated from high school, it's before the army. They're operating now in probably up to 30 different institutions on the island, working in early childhood centers, with teens, with adults in various synagogues, in other JCCs. So there are 3 elements to the Center for Israel. One is the Shinshin Project. One is the Israeli Scouts program, where we have over 125 Israeli American young kids coming to us every Sunday throughout the year. And the other one is Israel Fest, which is going to be taking place on the 9th of June this year, which is the largest celebration of Israel's Independence Day. Beyond that, its philosophy essentially is to explain, to teach, and to provide information about what's going on in Israel in general, in Israeli society, and right now, obviously, since October the 7th, what are the true facts behind what's taken place? Back in November, several of my colleagues were immediately desirous to go to Israel, and we had a couple of different objectives. One is we wanted to bear witness. Two is that we wanted to learn. Three is we wanted to help. And four is we wanted to come back to this country and apply what we've seen and what we've learned so that the American public can understand what's truly going on in Israel, which, by the way, Dagan, is something that you're doing every week and actually every day. So I just want to say thank you to you and the entire network of Shinshinim because you're doing an extraordinary job. Once we were there, we had a couple of missions. We wanted to get in front of the press. We wanted to talk to influencers. We were given the opportunity to go onto farms and to help. We were given an opportunity to see what advances in Israeli technology is taking place. We had a visit to a hospital called, I think it's Shamir, it's also Asaf HaRofeh, where we saw a futuristic understanding as to how Israelis are treating PTSD through hyperbolic oxygen mechanisms that enable an individual to process trauma in a way that's never been done before. It was actually like stepping into the future. Beyond that, we went down to Sderot and Kfar Aza. We were able to talk to refugees from the north as well as from the south in order to understand what they went through and what pain they're suffering now and how we can assist. Since October 7th, we have taken a number of different objectives into mind. We have immediately created some rallies in support of Israel. I'm talking about the Center for Israel and Sid Jacobson. We created an Israel Emergency Fund where we have given away up to $200,000 for refugees that are needing supplies, to communities that are needing security equipment, and to individual units and battalions that were needing non-military supplies. We also, and again, Dagan, I want to say this is through you, created a consortium of 17 different organizations called the Long Island Professionals Conference, which is now meeting every other week in order to talk about proactively supporting Israel on Long Island. That coalition created a website called longislandsupportsisrael.org. If you go to that website, you can see all of the events that are taking place on the island and ways that you can support Israel during this fight. It's made up of a variety of different organizations. I'm probably not going to be able to name them all, but it includes Stand With Us, JNF, ADL, AJC, all 5 JCCs on the island. It is run now not only with Dagan, but also by the JCRC on the island with UJA support. And its entire function is to be proactive in our approach. Not only did we manage to put in a full-page ad in 40 different papers, but recently there was a rally at the Mid-Island Y, attracting over 1,000 people. AJC is, the American Jewish Committee is generating all sorts of opportunities during Jewish Heritage Month in May. And there are 3 major events coming up in June, including the parade in New York, including Israel Fest on the 9th of June, and the JCRC is having a major concert at Eisenhower Park. I think that's at the end of June. The bottom line is that our entire function is twofold. It's to understand that there's no such thing as them and us. We're all us. We're all in this together. The war that's being fought in Israel is different than the war that's being fought here, because the war that's being fought here is against misinformation, disinformation, it's against disruption, and the only way to combat that is through staying informed, going to the right places to get the facts. It is to engage in dialogue with facts whenever we can. It is to support pro-Israel organizations. It's to attend, and if not attending, to organize events that provide information and facts to a wide variety of people of all ages. It's to be in contact with local representatives to make sure that they are standing on the side of right. It's to engage with other faiths and other cultures in order to share our information. You know, there was a line a long time ago, I think it was from Michelle Obama, that says, when they go low, we go high. And that's precisely what it is that we're doing. We're not looking to disrupt. We're not looking to make things worse. We are looking to be able to provide facts. We're looking to be able to provide information. But in order to do that, we have to have information. The other thing that I want to be able to also say is that we should be supporting Israeli businesses. There are lots of businesses in Israel that have been faltering because of people that are in the army and families who have been disrupted. So however we can support Israeli products and Israeli businesses, we should continue to do so. Take a look at what's online. Instagram, you've got Instagram accounts of a Noah Tishby, Black and Jewish Unity, of a Hen Mazig, of the Israeli War Room, of Jew Belong. All of these will provide you with insights in terms of what information you should have and how to counteract the misinformation and disinformation that's out there. Basically, Dagan, you know, the bottom line is that we cannot sit back and just try to absorb that misinformation or disinformation, because it will make us doubt ourselves. Once you understand what's actually taking place, you will have no doubt that the values of Israel are our values. And the values of those that are looking to destroy Israel are not our values. And that the fact of the matter is that it is an age-old propaganda item to be able to accuse those that are in this with the very thing that you are actually doing yourself. It is the actual documentation of Hamas and Hezbollah to literally destroy the state of Israel and the Jews within it. That is not the intent of Israel. But again, we have to understand that in order to combat it. I don't know if there's any other questions that you have or that I've not answered, but I just wanted to give you a bird's eye view of what's taking place on the island, how you need to get involved and engaged to support Israel. And if your local synagogue, your local JCC, the local organizations that are around you, if you want to get involved and engaged, call, ask them what they're doing. And if they're not doing what it is that you would like them to do, I guarantee you that you'll have some voices on the other side that will want to work with you in order to make something happen. And there are resources not only on the island, but in New York and throughout Israel that can provide anybody that wants to get engaged with the facts and the way to do so.
Thank you, David. Again, for everything you say and most of everything you do for Israel and for Long Island as a whole. I want to ask one last thing about the missions you were in Israel. We talked a lot about your experience. What did you felt when you were there, and why do you think that it's important to go?
Look, there are 2 or 3 takeaways, interestingly enough, because all of us went in very, very heavy. It was, Israel was traumatized. And we understood that every single meeting we had was therapy for those people that we met, but also therapeutic for us as well. And one of those messages, or the things that I learned, was that there is no such difference between you and us. It's all us. The second, interestingly enough, is that not only is laughter allowed, it's actually critical in order to give a soul's room to breathe, to feel hope. The third is that sadness and trauma, that the antidote is connection and joy. It was absolutely critical for Israelis to understand that there are people behind them. It was absolutely critical for us to feel that we were not some Americans that were going over, but we were part and parcel of this country, and that we were all related. So the solidarity was critical, both to the Israelis that we met, but also to all of us that were there. Anything that we were able to do to help fed our sense of well-being. And I believe that that continues through today, because the messages that are getting out there that Israel is being abandoned, that Israel is wrong, that Israel's not doing right, have to be countered by the facts. And that's what it is that I got from that mission. By the way, if you were to just Google missions to Israel, you'll see a dozen different organizations that are providing those opportunities. From Stand With Us, JNF, UJA, your synagogues, FIDF, Adama, JFNA, just Google, and you will be able to find a way to get to Israel, and a way that's really meaningful to be able to help.
Were you afraid being in Israel?
Not in the slightest. Millions of Israelis are there living their lives, and the security apparatus is apparent, and the way in which one would take care of themselves also apparent. I've never felt, I feel safer in Israel than I do in Manhattan. Sorry, it's just the truth.
Yeah. Thank you. And I will piggyback from what you said. And again, I think the thing that fear us as Israelis the most is that we will become Ukraine and Russia, and that the hostages situation will become another thing that is happening in the world and will not be covered by media anymore, and nobody will talk about. And Israel will not move on as long as the hostages are there. We just won't. And we won't be able to grieve and to mourn and to back being happy again until they will be back home with us. And I urge all of you, Long Island and the other people watching us, I know that it looks scary, but whenever you can, just go. And don't go just to seek Faraza. Go be with the Israelis, meet the people, speak with them. Just be as normal tourist. Israel doesn't want to be presented like in a zoo, but they do want to meet people, and it does bring a lot of strength and spirit for the Israelis to know that they did not stand alone.
I forgot who said it, but somebody once said, in Israel, if you don't believe in miracles, you're not a realist. And the truth of the matter is that what took place with the attack of Iran and the defense that was put up was absolutely miraculous. It was extraordinary. But what I believe is exactly what you said. We have got to be able to connect with Israel, connect with Israelis without fear, with intention, and to be able to show that there are millions of us that are supporting Israel and that will never stop.
I agree. And thank you for all of you for doing it. Again, as the Israeli, it's never coming for granted. David, thank you for all those amazing insights. We're going to Passover now, and you know, Passover is we celebrate freedom and living Egypt, and let us all hope that we'll have some sense of freedom in this Passover. I will just ask from all of you, when you sit in your Seder tables, just leave one empty seat for those hostages who are no longer with us. Like in Judaism, we know to break the cup when we get married, so we know how to be happy, but we know how to remember the hard part of who we are. Again, just let us all making sure that we're not forgetting about them. Even though the world seems to move on, we won't. Thank you, David, and thank you, everyone. We'll meet again only after Passover on May 2nd. And I wish us all happy and quiet Passover. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dagan.